Hello, and welcome to the Cool Library. I'm Ellen, and in this video I'm going to be doing a wrap-up of all the books that I read within this first quarter of the year, so within the first 3 months of this year, 2023. I'm going to be doing these wrap-ups very differently than how I've done them before. How I'm going to be doing these wrap-ups is as soon as I finish reading a book, I'm going to be kind of like vlogging myself, talking about the book as soon as I finish it, pretty much, while the thoughts and the things that have happened in the book are fresh in my mind, because that is the main reason why I'm doing it that way. And I just want to see how that's going to work out. If you're not liking it, if I'm not liking it, then I will go back to the original. But I always find myself when I go to film my wrap-ups that some of the books I can't even remember because it had been, 3 months since I had read them. I can't remember many of my thoughts on them or why I've given them the amount of stars that I've given them. I figure as soon as I finish the book, that's when I know most of my thoughts about the book. So we're going to try doing it that way. So here is that video of all the different clips of me reading from this past 3 months. Also, I'm very sorry that this video is up so late. I was gonna get this up the first weekend of April, and that is a month from when this is coming out. No real reason, just me being lazy. But without further ado, here's the video. Good morning. We're gonna talk about the first book as I put my makeup on and get ready for the day. So I finished the book last night, but I was really tired, so I decided I'm just gonna do it this morning. And the book I read, very first book I read of the year, is Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. You're probably gonna start seeing all of the books in the series in a row right now, because Kayla from Lala and Books, is there any in here? Yeah, Kayla from Lala and Books and Lala. She's doing a reread of the whole series because the new book in the series comes out today. Oh my god, today's Tuesday. It's coming out today. So over the weekend, she's doing a reread of the entire series. I'm not going to be able to read all the books within the series in just the weekend, so I'm starting now. And hopefully I can do like a book a day kind of a thing. But yeah, Every Heart a Doorway is the first book in the Wayward children's series, which is kind of... it's very fantastical. We have a door and it takes everyone's door is different and it takes you to all these different fantastical worlds. But we are mainly following some children after they've been kicked out of their door, not so much kicked out of their world, but they've left their door, and they're trying to find their door again. Because they want to go back, and they're back into the real world, and they can't quite handle it just yet. So they're all kind of in this, I don't want to say asylum, but it kind of is for children like this. And our main character is Nancy. She came from a world of ghosts and dead people. That's all I really know about the world. But then we also have Jack and Jill, who came from an interesting world. We also have Cade, who was kicked out of his world because he's not a girl anymore, and they really wanted a girl. Yeah, so we do have a transgender person, and then our main character Nancy is asexual. They reference it a couple times. I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. I wasn't sure what to expect with this book, but I love the writing of it. It's very fantastical. And interesting to read. And then I also really enjoyed this mystery aspect to it. I was not expecting a mystery aspect to the story. No one ever told me there was a mystery, but there is a mystery that happens. The reason I'm giving it 4 stars is because I was actually able to predict the mystery, basically, and it's not focusing on me. Yeah, I was able to predict the mystery aspect of it. But it also 5 stars are reserved for all-time favorites, and this didn't feel like an all-time favorite. Maybe if I reread it a second time. But I don't really reread books. I have too many other new books to read. So I think that's why I'm giving it 4 stars, because I really enjoyed it. but it was just a little bit too predictable. And I am very excited for Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which I'm hoping to read tomorrow, all in one day. We'll see. Thankfully, like, the audiobooks are only 4 hours, and I usually listen to them, but this one I was able to listen to it at 1.75 speed, so it went a little quicker. So hopefully I can do that, and it'll turn it down to like maybe 3 hours, 2.5 hours. Anyway, that is it. I will see you guys later when I read another book. Alright guys, we're here now for my next book that I read for this first quarter of the year. And it's Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. We're going to keep it going with this series for a little while. But I'm really upset because there's nothing inherently like wrong with this book. It just wasn't the like thrill ride I was seeking or expecting, which is making me very upset to have to give this a 3-star. I definitely did not like this as much as the first one. And the more I think about it, the more I want to give the first one a 4.5 star. But this one is getting 3 stars, and it's very upsetting to me. Because I really did enjoy the characters of Jack and Jill in the first book. And this is almost kind of like a prequel-ish. I don't know. This series is interesting where like they can all stand on their own, but they all kind of also connect with each other. But seeing like the world that Jack and Jill go to, it's just, I don't know, this wasn't as exciting as I want it to be. I think the ending was definitely the most exciting part of the story, but this whole beginning and middle, it just kind of felt very slow for me, and I just was kind of like, okay, let's get through it so I can just move on to the next book, I guess. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to be done with this, which is upsetting, because I enjoyed the characters, and I enjoyed learning about the world within these doors, because we didn't really get that in the first book, but I don't know, there was just something about the plot line of this story that just didn't quite grip me. And so, very upsetting, but I am still excited to continue on with the series, read the next one, although I have no idea what the next one is about. So, we'll see. Alright, I've read 2 more books since I last saw you. I have read Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan McGuire. What a surprise. So this is the 3rd book in the Wayward Children series. I really am just starting this year off with the Wayward Children series. This one I ended up giving 4 stars. I really liked it. I don't think I liked it as much as the first one, even though I did give it the same amount of stars, but I really liked it. I liked going into this world of nonsense, and I liked the quest that we were on. I love our 2 new characters. We have Cora and Nadia. And then I also love that we got Cade and Christopher back. I think Cade and Christopher were definitely my favorite characters so far, I think, within this whole series, and I would love books with them, like where it's like their story. So I hope that's coming up. So I'm excited to get started on the next one, but the second book that I have to talk to you about is not from that series, but I have also started and finished today the first volume of Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. This is a graphic novel, which I absolutely love the art styling. Like, I love this artwork that's in here. Overall I'm giving this 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I think I know this story of Hades and Persephone. I feel like I've read multiple things that's just the same exact story, so I just kind of knew everything that was going to happen. So it wasn't as exciting. Also, I think the layout of this was a little confusing at times. I was kind of confused as to like which box to go to next, or like sometimes the speech bubbles, like it's saying like who's saying it, like where like, you know, it points to who's saying it, but sometimes I was like, it's not pointing at either of them, so who's saying it? And I got confused. I basically just got a little confused. The layout is kind of my overall thing with it, but I think I'm still gonna read the second one just because I really like looking at this artwork. But again, I think I know where the next one's going, if we're still going with the whole Hades and Persephone storyline. Hi, this is such a weird angle. I don't think I like it. But I have finished In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire, the 4th book in the Wayward Children's series, and this is so far my favorite. I love this one. I'm giving it 4.5 stars. I had no idea we were going to be following a Lundy storyline. But I'm really glad we got more of Lundy. I like that we kept going back and forth between like her world and the world in which, like, the door she opened to. And it was such an interesting world. And I also really connected with Lundy because she, like me, is a huge rule follower and likes rules. And so learning the rules of this world was fascinating, as well as learning the rules along with Lundy. But yeah, no, this just, oh, and I love that all of these books are just very fantastical and fairy tale-esque. It's very atmospheric, these books, and this one was definitely my favorite so far. So I'm giving it 4.5 stars. It was great. Alright, you might be able to hear some sounds, but there's a demolition happening with the neighbors next door. Next book I have read, Lore Olympus Volume 2. I like this one a lot better. I've given this one 4 stars. We're continuing the story with Hades and Persephone. It's still a story, I know, so like nothing really surprising is happening for me, but I really still enjoy the artwork. The layout was a little easier to follow along with, and I liked this part of the story more than the first part, I guess. I don't know, I just had a little bit more enjoyable, fun moments reading this volume than I did the last volume. Ooh, good. Sorry, it is bedtime for me. I'm going to talk about the next book that I read, which shouldn't come as a surprise to you. It's Lore Olympus Volume 3. But before I get to this, I just rewatched Cyrano. And I know I put it at like my number 5 spot, but I need to change it. Like, it is just one of the most gorgeous movies I think I've ever seen. I gotta put it at my number 2 spot. I gotta put it at my number 2. Anyway, that's the update if you've seen my top 10 movie video. My bottom 10 and top 10. But yeah, it's I had it at number 5. I gotta bump it up to number 2. It's just stunning. Anyway, Lore Olympus Volume 3. We're still continuing with Hades and Persephone. It's still a story that I know very well. But I am still enjoying this a little more than the first one. I'm still giving it a 3.5 star like I did the first one. But it's just a higher 3.5 star than the first volume. I don't know what was up with that first volume. I just wasn't feeling it, but I'm feeling this one a little bit more. But it's not as great as Volume 2. I think Volume 2 is still my favorite. This one just like was a little slower, and I don't think a whole lot happened in this one. It was just a lot of like filler things that you need to know before the next big things happen. This is the last volume that is out currently. The next volume I believe comes out in the springtime. So this is the last you'll see of Lore Olympus until the next quarter. But I think I'm still going to continue with the series, even though I'm kind of feeling okay about it. I don't know. Artwork is still fantastic. Hi. In the process, doing laundry. And I finished Come Tumbling Down by Seanan McGuire. Are we surprised I read the next book? No. But this one, not a favorite of mine. I don't know what it is, but like the Jack stories, like the main Jack stories are just not doing it for me. Maybe it's the Moors, because this does mainly take place in the Moors, and I think that's just what it is. Maybe, I don't know. But we've got Jack back. Jack and Jill are back. I was not expecting to see them. We also, I will say, this started off kind of like Christopher's story, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, we're in Christopher's perspective. We're getting a Christopher story. And then Jack came in the picture, and it was not Christopher's story anymore. And I think maybe that's what brought it down for me, because I just really want a Christopher story. Hold on, my arm is hurting. Yeah, I just really want a Christopher story. And this wasn't it. I'm giving this one 3.5 stars. I think I still liked it better than Down Among the Sticks and Bones, but this just wasn't it. I think like I was interested in the beginning, but then by the halfway mark, I just kind of lost interest in the story and where we were going, and I just didn't quite care anymore. But I do still really enjoy the writing style. And I haven't mentioned this before, but I also really like the pictures that are within this book. They're like nice little like pencil sketchings, and I think they're just beautiful. So I do enjoy the pictures every now and then that we get. Yeah, I think this one just wasn't interesting for me, and I was just like trying to rush through it because I just wanted it to be over so I can move on to the next one. But yeah, I don't have much to say about this. It was just fine, so 3.5. Hi, we're somewhere new. Place we haven't seen. Yeah, I'm a little early for my massage appointment, so I figured I'd update you on the book that I finished last night, which is Across the Green Grass Fields. The next book in the Wayward Children series. We're still doing it. I really enjoyed this one. This was, we got a character we had never heard from before. There are no characters within this book that are familiar to us, which is very different because all the other books have been characters we know. But we were following a girl named Reagan, who is intersex and is being bullied at school. So she kind of like runs away from school, but she finds a door that leads to a world full of centaurs and other creatures, but she mainly spends her time with the centaurs. And I really enjoyed it. That's pretty much like all there is to the story, but it's, she does go on a quest, and I don't know, the quest was very short, but I enjoyed it. I think the reason I'm not giving it more stars, or that it's not like my favorite in the series, like it still doesn't beat In an Absent Dream, I think is because we don't have any characters that are familiar to us, and that's kind of been the whole point of this series, I feel like, is we're always getting a different story from a character we know before. So I'm curious if Reagan's gonna come back in future books, but there are 2 more books within the series that are out right now, because I can't imagine we are just talking about Reagan and there's no point to talking about Reagan. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. And I will keep continuing on with the series. Hi, I'm about to leave for work, and I have read the next book, which is Where the Drowned Girls Go. The 7th book in the series that I've been reading. This is another favorite. This is a 4.5 within the series. I really enjoyed this one. I still think In an Absent Dream is my favorite, but this is a really close second. And I love, with this one, we get to go to the other school and see what that one's like, because we've always been with Eleanor West's school with children who, you know, want to go back to their world, and this is a school of children who don't want to go back to their world. They're like traumatized by it. But after reading it, I feel like all of these children, they do want to go back. It's just they're being taught to deny what they saw and deny that everything that they've been through was real. It almost kind of felt like a prison / asylum, this place. It was definitely not a fun place, but Cora, we're following Cora again, and she decides to go to this school to get the drowned gods to stop talking to her and calling to her through her brain. She doesn't want it. But this one was just so fast-paced and entertaining, and I was invested the entire time, especially by the end. I just could not put the book down. I finally liked Sumi. This is like the first book where I didn't find Sumi annoying. And I really liked the reveal at the end. Honestly, Cora and Sumi are smarter than me, because I would not have figured that out. But also just like this whole story of like, how are we going to escape? Also, Reagan is at this school, so really glad we got information about about Reagan, because Across the Green Grass Fields, as much as I did like the book, it was still like, we're not following any characters we've known before, which is not what any other books have done, so clearly she's gonna come up in some way, and it was at this school within this book. But I loved this book from beginning to end. Oh, I was like, what am I hearing? It is my alarm going off, which is the Teen Wolf. Anyway, that's it on this book. Yeah, 4.5 stars. I have forgotten how much I don't like how I look in beanies. Finished Lost in the Moment and Found, which is the most recent book out in this series. So there's 2 more books I believe that I've heard are coming out within this series. But this is the last of the Wayward Children series until next year. And in this one, we're following Antsy, who we briefly met in the one before this. And this is like her backstory and her world. Okay, I'm giving this one 4 stars because I liked it, because I believe we got a lot of answers about the doors and just kind of like how they work, and we also got introduced to a lot of different worlds. But I think when we were learning about all the different worlds and like the shop that she was in just wasn't as interesting to me as I wanted it to be, but I was very much invested in the beginning of the book and the end of the book. Those are the parts that I was most invested in and most like intrigued to read. The whole middle honestly was kind of a blur to me. I don't remember much, but the beginning is hard to read. I did have to put it down because I know it doesn't happen. I know nothing happens because the author gave us a warning that like before anything happens, Antsy runs. So like nothing happens, but just like the fact that something could have happened, it was making me feel very uncomfortable, and I didn't like it, but I'm happy she was able to get out of that situation. And the ending was satisfying. I enjoyed the ending, even though I would have loved her to have had a better world in a sense. But basically she runs away from a situation at home that's not ideal, and she opens a door, and it ends up being a shop full of where the lost things go. And she ends up kind of like helping out the 2 people that are running it, but how they kind of retrieve these lost things. Sometimes it comes to them, sometimes they open a door to a different world and just kind of go and retrieve things from that world. So she goes to a bunch of different worlds. I mean, we know she gets out of it because we see her at Eleanor's school in the previous book, but it's just her getting to that point of Eleanor's school. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So I gave it 4 stars, but yeah, still not my favorite in the series. So I haven't told you about the books that I read in February. I have not been updating. Granted, I haven't read much. I haven't really been in much of a reading mood. But let me at least go through the 4 books that I read in February. Because look at that, we're now in March. So for my job, we have a book club with the company I work for. I kind of run it. And so we have 2 books that we read for book club. So we read Love and Color by Bolu Babalola. I'm gonna be honest. I DNF'd this. I'm very sorry. I made it halfway. I made it to like the 50% mark, and I just couldn't do it anymore. It's a very, I like the concept of the book, but I didn't like the writing style. To me, the writing style just, I don't know, it was hard to follow, and the endings always just felt so abrupt, and I felt like there needed to be more. I also was going back and forth between audio and physical, and I noticed at least this physical copy that I have is the British edition, and the order is different than the American version. I don't know why they switched up the order, but it then made it difficult to follow along going back and forth between audio and physical. But yeah, it's a collection of mythical romance tales from all over the world, retold into modern day, which just sounds amazing. But I don't know, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Where did I? Okay, maybe, yeah, no, that looks like halfway. I made it to page 156, left off with the story of Nalele. Yeah. So I think my overall score for that is 2 stars. The other book we read was The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. This was definitely a winner for me. I gave this 4.5 stars, I think. Let me double check. Okay, yes, it is 4.5 stars. This one was, oh, I got so into this, and I read it, I think, it's a big book. It's like over 600 pages, and I think I read it within like 4 days or 3 days. I went through it quickly. I was hooked, and there's so much that goes on in here. And also, I read the author's note afterwards, and so much of this is actually true. But with this, it takes place during World War II, and we are following 3 different ladies who are working as code breakers, and it's all secretive. They even have to keep it a secret of their parts of the job from each other, but they end up forming this friendship, and lots of things happen. I don't want to give too much away, and I absolutely loved the writing. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I thought all of it was just very interesting and intriguing. I also read You Are Only Just Beginning by Morgan Harper Nichols. This is the third book of hers that I have read. This is a poetry filled with colorful pages. Let me just show you, like, it's just so beautiful to me. Her writing and her artwork, because all of the pages in here are her artwork. Just lessons for the journey ahead is what it says. I definitely recommend Morgan Harper Nichols' poetry collections. I think she's great. I really like her. I also follow her on Instagram. That's how I found out about her. Overall, I gave this 4 stars. I think my favorite of hers is still her first one. And then lastly, I did a reread. I don't normally do rereads, but I was in the mood to reread this one, especially since the TV show is coming out, but that is Daisy Jones and the Six. This is my 3rd time reading it, and I'm still giving it 5 stars. It's still a fantastic book. I love it. I'm so engrossed. I love this like time period. I love the characters. I love everything. And Taylor Jenkins Reid is like probably my all-time favorite author. So for me, she can never do any wrong. And yeah, still a great time. You can hear my thoughts on the TV show because I know I'm going to watch it. I know I'm going to watch it, and it's going to be in the movie wrap-up. That is it for February. We'll see what March has to offer. But so far, it's looking a little bleak for March. Hello! I'm coming to you very late. It is now 3 days until March is over, and I have just now read a book in March. It's been a very slow reading month because I've been focusing on movies and TV shows, but I have just now finished a book. I hope I can at least finish one more before the month is done, but I just haven't been in a reading mood. But the book that I have read is actually a book that I started back in, I think it was December or November of last year. It's taken me quite a long time to read, and that is Madhouse at the End of the Earth by Julian Sancton. This is a nonfiction about the Belgica, which is a ship full of Belgium as well as other men back in 1897. That was, I think, yeah, it's the very first ship to really make it to Antarctica and like the geographical South Pole. And all of the hardships and craziness that happened with this journey and this adventure. Basically, they were just supposed to be there for like a little bit, and then they got stuck and ended up spending an entire year in Antarctica. They went crazy. A lot of them got sick. Not all made it out alive. It's a very crazy, wild ride, and I did very much enjoy this. I do think the epilogue that was at the end, not needed. I could have done without that. Other than that, I did really enjoy this. It is very detailed, so if you don't like a whole lot of details, maybe skip this, but I actually thought the details really painted the picture for me in my brain, so it was easier for me to imagine everything, and it just made the story that much better for me. So I loved the details. It was very fascinating and interesting, and there's so much that happens even before the ship leaves to go to Antarctica. There's also like lots of scandal involved, and it's just, I really enjoyed this. I think I'm giving it though 3.5 stars just because of how dense it is. Because it does have a lot of details, it is very dense, and it's a very, I think it's why it took me so long to read, is just because it's just a slow read, but it's one that I don't think you want to read fast. I think this is a book that needs to be a slow read so you can really take in everything that's being said. Scratch that, it's actually a 4 star. I just finally put it through my little rating system, and it came out as a 4-star, not a 3.5. So those were all the books that I read within this first quarter of the year. Thank you so much for watching all the way to this point, the end. Here is actually all of the books ranked in order from my favorite to my least favorite. And hopefully I can come back to you with more videos. Yeah, I want to do more than just wrap up videos. And so I'm hoping I can do that. It's just I haven't had a lot of time for reading. I do also have my movie wrap up for the first quarter of the year. I will link that down below. And that is it. I will see you guys later with more videos. Bye.